Here is what I learned from posting 10 short form videos every day across multiple platforms. Now, for context, there was a couple platforms I had to lose out on because of the limitations of a social media scheduler I was using. It wasn't Nuelink at the time. And so I wanted to mention the 4 platforms that I used and the ones that I'm going to be using in the future to make up for it. So let's talk about that. Starting out, I wanted to catch up on the amount of interviews that I've gone through. So I tossed in all my interviews into Opus and generated a lot of amazing usable clips. Like, mind you, there's tons of clips that weren't usable, like the intro or duplicate clips that all these tools generate. And so I usually say that, like, when you're using a tool like some kind of AI repurposing feature, there's about an 80% usage rate. And so 20% of the videos are either duplicates or intros and outros, and there's not that good. And all the tools do this. I would say Opus has now refined their model enough to where I would even give it an 85% usage rate, which is kind of insane to think about because you're usually getting like 35 clips for an hour, hour and a half long video. And so what I did was I kind of limited myself just to the best 12 to 16 clips. And then the last 10 that I would have left over, I would save for later. And I've actually gone through all those too now. But I had about like at least 20 clips per interview, right? That I wanted to get out. And so I'm like, okay, how do I catch up? After 120 interviews, now nearly 200 interviews, I have generated over 2,500 clips. And that's a lot. So how do you get it out? And so I spent a lot of time looking at social media scheduling tools to post them out in bulk, like not post in bulk, but schedule in bulk to be posted. Sorry. And so this idea of trying to get them all out, that's kind of insane on its own. But then you have to think about the frequency and how different platforms react to it. And I saw some really interesting lessons that I thought I would share with you. I think I've mentioned them sometimes on the interviews, but I never really talked about it in a video. So I posted to TikTok. That was like a big goal for me. YouTube Shorts, which was another big goal for me. And I really liked that, actually. And there's kind of a nuance to YouTube Shorts that I want to get into. Instagram Reels, and then Pinterest, of all places. Pinterest is what I chose because I could only have 4 platforms with the system that I had, and I wanted to talk about why I chose Pinterest over the other ones. So at the time, LinkedIn wasn't necessarily great for video. Some people were posting video, but they're usually horizontal, and it was infrequent. Now, LinkedIn is pushing video pretty hard, and so I'll get to that here in a bit. And then Facebook was just not that much of a priority for me, especially compared to how Pinterest was. Pinterest, I kept seeing my teenage family member and even some other people I knew around me use Pinterest to look at TikTok videos. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. They're using Pinterest, an image platform, to watch TikToks as a way to get around TikTok's age limitations or something like that. And so or even just maybe family limitations or something. Like, so a lot of people don't like TikTok. Sure, whatever. And now it's getting banned. And so the idea of choosing Pinterest actually ended up working in my favor because for a long time there, I was getting thousands of views across my socials from these videos. And I'll tell you the frequency of what I was posting in a minute. But on Pinterest, I was getting like 30,000 views or 20 to 30,000 views for a while. And that was more than the other 3 platforms combined. And so eventually on YouTube, especially, I was getting upwards of like 12 to 17,000 views a month. And this was, and sometimes the views get confused with impressions, but most of the time they're reviews. And it was interesting the fact that I was getting 17,000 views a month, and it was starting to get consistent. And for a while there, I'm talking over the course of 2024, at least 3 months on my main YouTube channel, I got 25,000 views. Mind you, I'm a 500 subscriber channel. And on this channel, the PolyTools channel, I had less than 100 subscribers, and I was getting somewhere between 13 to 18,000 views a month. And even right now, and I'm posting very infrequently when it comes to shorts, not consistently, at least on this channel, I'm getting around 9,000 views a month, which is still kind of crazy considering the size of the channel. And so I'm actually going to work on a new campaign here soon. I started a new show with a friend of mine called The Brand Doctors. And one thing I'm doing on the PolyInnovator channel that I failed to do on this PolyTools channel was post a short every day. When I was creating a lot of content and repurposing them quickly, I was able to get into a rhythm when it came to doing these sprints. And so if I had 10 to 20 clips per interview, I could schedule them out across the week. So if I was consistently putting out an interview each week and not changing the days like I am now, I could be consistent. I finished an interview just yesterday and the one before that was last weekend, and I didn't post the clips of the one from last weekend. So now I'm behind, right? And so what I'm going to try to do is what I did on the other channel. I took all those extra clips from my interviews and posted them after I got done. And so I scheduled one a day, all these extra clips. Now I have one going out until March. And then on this PolyTools channel, I'm going to take the brand doctors clips because they're not necessarily nothing from those episodes are very time sensitive. And so I figured I could just take the clips from that and post one of them a day. And so at least I have something going out every single day. And then I could do sprints of the interviews when I'm doing them. Especially since going forward on both channels, I'm going to be taking a break from interviews for a bit because I think I need to take a break from that. But let's go back to the channels. And so I figured, okay, now going forward, I want to take advantage of LinkedIn's push for video. There is a difference though, because the frequency of it is important. And I'm probably going to have to do a separate strategy for my professional page and my personal page. And I'll share that in a moment too. So what I was doing was I wanted to catch up. I started making over 2,000 clips and now, 2,500, 3,000, something like that. I need to probably count them at some point. And it was amazing to me. I had so many, but I'm like, oh, how do I get this all out? I want to catch up to my current episodes of interviews. And so I was like, okay, let's post like 8 a day. Like, I don't want to go too crazy. Let's do 8 a day. And eventually this kind of felt like it was still going too slow. And basically 8 a day was like every 2 hours, if you will. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, screw it. Let's just bump it up to 10 because I need to get out. And I started seeing some good results too. However, on Instagram of all places, I actually started seeing some negative results because I was posting to the main feed and the Reels feed. I actually started losing followers because I was spamming the main feed too much. And that makes sense because most people only post Reels like once a day or like 3 times a week. And so they're not used to seeing Reels on the main feed. And especially since I really wanted to do 10 a day so I could catch up, that was more important to me than the perceived, like what people were perceived of me of. I figured people were going to like the clips or not going to like the clips. And so I changed it to where I was only posting to the Reels feed, and that was it. And from there, I started growing a lot more. And so that was something really interesting. And TikTok has just been completely unreadable, really. I've been getting a ton of views. Like I still got like thousands of views. And I think at one point, across TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram, I got at least 25,000 views. I don't know if it was all in the same month. I think it was like across 2 months that I was able to like, on TikTok, I got 25,000 views, and then the next month it was like 8,000. But then on the other 3 platforms, I got 25,000. And it's just crazy to me how just posting these clips of my interviews made such a big difference that if I was consistent with a lot of my other content, it would compound a lot more. And so Instagram had that rule where don't post to the main feed, only post to the Reels feed. Take that lesson there. TikTok is kind of interesting because I still think it's worthwhile, but I'm honestly considering maybe if TikTok was still around, I would consider this, but making a separate TikTok account for clips. However, TikTok is really annoying with account creation because they want you to have a phone number attached to it and stuff like that. And I can't even get my phone number attached to my main account. I mean, I got it fixed, but I couldn't even get it attached to my main account and had hell to do it. And it's just like, okay, I'm not going to go through that for a clips account. With Instagram, at least, I can make a clips account and just have to make a Facebook page, and that's the tediousness you have to do there. Fine, whatever. But the idea there is like, okay, now I can have clips going out again. And so I'll get to that in a second. Facebook is something I've ignored, so I want to go back and to do that again. Okay, well, I'm already going to do LinkedIn again, and now I might make an Instagram to do it again, and I might make an actual YouTube channel dedicated to clips. And so that makes it really interesting to think about like, okay, now I can repost all this content that I've made, but on their own platforms instead of my own PolyInnovator personal brand platform. And I'll still probably post clips to that too, just maybe at a slower rate or choose more higher quality ones. And so I'm going to do a new campaign posting to LinkedIn, Facebook Reels, Instagram on a new platform, and probably YouTube on a new profile. And so now I'm going to have 4 other, and actually I was going to redo Pinterest because like, why not? Pinterest is kind of a catch-all. And so these are some of the lessons I learned. And here's the deal. I'm still posting. Like when I do it, I'm posting like 10 a day. And it's insane to me that like people aren't doing this. I mean, sure, I'm kind of insane when I'm talking about doing it, but it made such a big difference for my channels across the board. If you look at some of my like analytics across all my content, like on Nuelink, it shows a lot of great analytics. It doesn't include YouTube yet, which is kind of surprising. And I think that YouTube's kind of add a lot to it. But I got over 370,000 views over the last year across my platform. platforms. And considering that all of my platforms have a very small following currently right now, I like 500 to 800. That's kind of crazy. I mean, TikTok is still like 3,500, so that's not too bad. But still, like, I'm not a huge creator. And the fact I'm getting that many views just because I was posting a lot more out, that's why I made this video. Because a lot of people are still not posting enough. And one little thing, since Nuelink is outside the US, and a lot of other social media management tools are outside the US actually, like you'd be surprised how most of them are. I am able now to, I can still send my stuff to Nuelink and it'll still send to TikTok, even if it's banned in the US. And I think that is a fantastic situation because even if I can't necessarily use it, at least people can still benefit from me making content. And that I think is really cool. And I think that really, I would be surprised if like other tools, I think Buffer might be in the US, for example. I would be surprised if even Buffer can't necessarily send to TikTok still. Like I think that's going to be something that's going to take a long time for the US government to like phase out. So a lot of these social media management tools probably will still work sending stuff to TikTok. You just won't be able to see it. And I think that is still kind of a good thing because you still want to be able to reach the rest of the world. All right, that's it. Cheers.